my name is Stephanie and welcome to Sewing with Stephanie. This is the place where we make sewing cool, modern, and fun. So before we get started, make sure, as usual, you click like below and subscribe to make sure that you stay on top of all my latest videos that I send out. So today I'm going to teach you how to drape a pencil skirt fitted to your mannequin to your measurements. If you've watched the videos in the past, I've showed you how to drape a basic bodice, front and back, and then the basic torso, front and back. And what's great about both of these is that you can use these patterns over and over and over again to make different tops and dresses. Today, you're gonna make the basic pencil skirt front and back, and you can turn it into a poster board sloper, just like these, and then use them using the flat pattern method over and over and over again to create skirt patterns. The pencil skirt drape foundation is fantastic to just make skirts, but also you can combine it with the basic bodice top in order to make dresses, or you can make dresses using the basic torso foundation. It's really up to you. It's up to dart placement, it's up to the design, but it's really fantastic to make sure you have all of these in your arsenal so that you can really play with your flat patterning methods over time. In order to get started, you need a large piece of muslin. It needs to be at least long enough to cover the waist down to the knees of your mannequin, preferably 4 to 5 inches either way, so that you have plenty of room to work with. So I've already padded up my mannequin with my measurements, and if you haven't done that yet, you can watch my video, which will help you prepare your mannequin for draping and teach you which measurements you need in order to get started. So I have my piece of muslin, and I've marked off the cross grain as I always do. Then I'm going to start with the side front here, and I am going to take that cross grain, I'm going to place it around the widest part of the mannequin. It should be in line with that hip line. It doesn't matter if the cross grain is exactly there, but it's nice to keep it at the widest part. Then I'm going to take one of my pins and pin that center front on the cross grain. A little tricky to do. All right. And then I'll go to the side and do the same thing. Making sure the fabric is nice and smooth across the front. It's not pulling. There might be a few wrinkles from the fabric. You can always iron your fabric ahead of time if you don't want to see those wrinkles. Then, working from the center up, you're going to make a pin all the way at that waistline that we've marked off without a ribbon. So gently slide your hand up and pin that center front waist. You can also pin down a little bit if you want, all the way down to the bottom of the mannequin, just to ensure there's no pulling and your mannequin is nice and smooth along the front. Now I'm going to go to the side, and instead of pulling this fabric across the waist this way, I'm going to do the same thing as I did on the front. I'm going to slide directly up from that cross grain line, ensuring a nice smooth line here up to the side waist, and pin that as well. And then again, you can pin down the bottom, the lowest part of the mannequin as far as you can pin on her. Making sure that's pulled nice and tight. It doesn't have to be really, really snug, but it does need to be lying flat. Then, let's go ahead and cut away some of the excess on the sides. So, believe it or not, we're almost done with this drape. It's a very, very easy one. The area that we have excess of right now could be pulled into one dart. The one kind of tricky thing about a pencil skirt, and again, it's really up to you. Most pencil skirt slopers have actually transferred, I've taken that fullness into 2 darts instead of just the one princess line dart. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that today, and then when we work in future patterns, I can always show you how to get rid of that second dart. And if you don't want to do a second dart, you don't have to. You can just pin and cut just as we've done before on creating the basic bodice and the basic torso foundation. But like I said, for the sake of this, we're going to create 2 darts. So the first dart is typically always around the princess line, which lines up right underneath the bust, and no further centers than that. So I'm going to pin one, kind of pinch that in a little bit, and then use my pins to kind of gather that fullness. Because you're creating 2 darts here, you want to make sure that they're sort of equal in size. You don't want to pin too much into that first dart and then not have much in the second. So you want to kind of go back and forth between them until you feel like they're both equal in size. You'll notice I'm not marking off anything with my pen yet, just because I want to make sure that I have about the right size before I start marking things off. So now that I have my darts pinned, I'm just gonna snip into that waistline from the top to make sure I relieve any additional pulling, and then I can take that into account with my darts. Okay, that's a really beautiful drape, right? I kind of get giddy when something is that easy and that clean to drape. So we're just gonna go ahead and mark this off using our pen. I'm gonna create a couple little dash lines, mark off that center waist, which will true up. It should be exactly horizontal, or parallel, I should say, to the grain line. If you're wondering how long to take your pencil skirt, it's really up to you. You can kind of cut it off anywhere. As long as it hangs basically straight down from that hip line, it can be as long as you want it to be. I would recommend taking it at least 18 inches, approximately to the knee or just above the knee, and make sure that when you cut it and you true it up, it is horizontal to the cross grain as well. So the waistline and the hem should be parallel and parallel to the cross grain. Okay, we finished the front drape. Now let's go ahead and do the back drape. Draping the back of the pencil skirt is exactly the same as draping the front. You start from the middle back and work out to the sides, making sure that the green line that you've marked off is on the widest part of the hip. So it's always a little bit different when you're working on the back because our backs are bigger than our fronts. So when you are sliding and smoothing out the muslin up towards the side waist, you'll find you have a much bigger piece of excess fabric here to work with. Again, you can turn it into 2 darts or 1. For the sake of consistency today, I'm going to turn it into 2. And again, I'm going to make sure that that first one, the most center one, is actually in line with the princess seam on the back. So let's take a look and assess the darts on this back pencil skirt drape. There are 2 darts and they are both different lengths. The one that is the most center back and aligns with the princess seam is actually quite a bit longer than the one closer to the side. And if you think about it, that makes complete sense with the way our bodies are. The widest part of our body tends to be the bum and it sticks out the most. So typically that dart is a little bit lower and bigger and throwing the fullness lower down. Whereas the more side dart is actually throwing fullness a little bit higher towards our hips. And both of those together account for our body types. Your drape may not be exactly like this. It may be the same. The fullness may be a little different. Maybe your seat sits a little bit higher on your body than your hips, in which case the 2 dart legs might be the same length. So it's really great that we get to create these customized for the shapes in the body that we're doing. And although this is such an easy drape, it's amazing that looking at something like that, you can tell so much about the body. So the final step is just to mark it off as we did the front and then take it off the mannequin. I missed a step. Did you catch what it was? That's right. First of all, you have to make sure that you mark off your hip line at the widest part so that when you are joining these 2 fabrics together, you know exactly where that hip line is. And then one more step, and that's to make sure we label our patterns. Always get into that habit. So this is Stephanie pencil skirt, and I'm gonna say back, and then I'm gonna date it. So how simple was that? You're now one step closer to creating custom clothing for yourself or your clients that fit them perfectly. Once you're done with this drape, take it off your mannequin and trace it onto tracing paper or onto poster board in order to create your sloper. Make sure that you notch those hip lines and mark off the darts. Cut into them so that you can trace around this poster board again and again onto tracing paper and manipulate your patterns that way. Thanks again for following along with another Sewing with Stephanie episode. Please make sure you hit subscribe below and like this episode. And be sure to catch me at thestylesafari.com and at thestylesafari to watch what I make next.